The media should not be a mouthpiece to the state, whom during the live broadcast we could see they were violating people's rights. Also, the same law also says that the police need to protect the protesters. That's why they're always notified. But in the Kenyan context, we see it is the vice versa. Anything small, there's always the first thing is always a tear gas.
Yeah.
Second thing, rubber bullets. And that's why we had that incident in Maandamano. A student was shot. How do you justify? The DCI released very many photos. And now this is where now the role of fact-checking comes in.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're joining us from, and welcome to Tek4Peace with Christine Magoma and David on this week's episode. We're here today to discuss critical and key issues, especially with the current political situation in our country, Kenya. But first, I want him to introduce himself so that we get to know him. Hi there, welcome to Tek4Peace.
Thank you for hosting me. My name is David Burudi Indeje. I'm a journalist by profession, but along the line I've had the privilege or the opportunity just to get to know so many things, from working within the media industry, working with the human rights organization, working with tech organizations, and currently also consulting within the same field, that is communications, where I'm a communications person for the Kenya ICT Action Network, a think tank for people who are passionate around ICTs, internet governance, policy. And at the same time, I support programs within the Kenya Union of Journalists. This is a trade union affiliated with the IFJ, that is the International Federation of Journalists, and the COTU, that is Central Organization of Trade Unions in Kenya, a union that represents and promotes workers' rights and promotes media freedom in Kenya.
With the current political situation in Kenya, hashtag MaandamanoMonday, and right now we have it on Thursdays as well. We had Communications Authority giving a statement. But because I am not a trained journalist, I'm a citizen journalist, I'd want you to share your thoughts with me on that in regard to press freedom.
Number one, to start off, to know if a state is really free, always look at the state of the media within that country. And in this case, you can even look at our neighbors across the region. That means the larger East African region and the Horn of Africa at large. Look at the state, where the media seems to enjoy media freedoms and their rights, the civil liberties, civic space. It's usually very comfortable. People stay in comfort. But where the media is always at a conflict with the state, civil liberties are usually very shaky. It speaks to the laws within that particular country. I cannot say that Kenya we have the most perfect laws, but at least we have laws which we can enjoy. So to start off, Kenya we are at a space where we can say media freedoms are appreciated and are upheld
In comparison to the region.
Yeah. But we have our own issues within the media space, because as I speak, we have at least 26 laws in Kenya that, if at all they continue being in existence the way they are, they actually limit media freedoms. But the beautiful thing around this particular discussion is that we have the 2010 Kenya Constitution, which has recognized the power of the media. And that is why I say in Kenya the Constitution actually gives us a higher pedestal to stand and be referred as the fourth estate.
Because press freedom is not regional, it's international.
Yes. First, we are guided by Article 19. Article 19 from the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, where freedoms have to be expressed freely by everybody and everyone, When you come to the continental space, we have the ACPR. And then when you come to Kenya, we also have specific laws that protect us. And in Kenya, we are also guided by several laws that exist, beginning with the constitution that gives us the power to be who we are. That is from Article 33, 34, and 35, and specifically Article 33 that speaks mostly around how we need to express ourselves freely. So we have that space, and
But that's for every citizen.
yes, that is for every citizen.
We're looking at
Media. Yes, that is
the media.
Yes. So when you start coming down, now we have specific pockets around how we need to be governed. And that's now we have our regulator, the Media Council of Kenya, that deals with content. And then we have organizations like the Kenya Union of Journalists. We have the Kenya Editors Guild, who look at the professionalism and editorial concerns around what is being reported outside there. And we have other many organizations that also look at certain pockets of how media is governed. So all these look at that particular space. But at the bottom of it, we look at how is the state of media. Number one, we look at the laws. And as I alluded to when I started, there are certain laws that are not so good to the media.
What kind of laws are these?
Number one, for you also operates in this digital space, we have one of the most bad laws, the Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Act. There are certain provisions or sections which have been used by the government to impede freedom of expression, freedom of ensuring you impart or you share information outside there, because they invoke them. And then many people get arrested. But the good thing is that in as much as this law keeps on being used by the government, we find that when these cases reach to the court, they always have a dead end.
That's true.
Yes.
But I'd want to hear from you as a journalist and also as a person who is on the new media platforms. We also have that. So you trained, but you're also on this other side.
Yes.
Have we as Kenyans seen a time when media was irresponsible, quote unquote, when media reported on certain things or events, and that had an negative implication to the citizens?
I cannot say the media has been perfect.
Okay.
The media has not been perfect. If we have to go to the year 2007, 2008, the post-election violence, when you look at the Kriegler report, the media was also faulted in some of the things that they did. However, we can say we are fortunate enough whereby we have a media industry that we say is self-regulating. And it's self-regulating in terms of abiding by the media code of conduct and practice of journalism. And I will not want to say this only applies to journalists. There's the 25 chapters that are contained within the code of conduct also apply to somebody like you. Like whatever you are disseminating outside there to your audience, is it factual? Is it objective? Is it accurate?
When it was coming up, we did not have much of people like me in new media, because you see what we are seeing at the moment, especially with the current political situation, is that we might say that mainstream media cannot publish or post or cover certain events, but the reality is that people like me and anyone else anywhere in the country witnessing certain events can cover it, can take videos, can take photos, and still break news to their audience, whether it's 2 people who are following them or 100,000 people who are following them.
How I respond to it is that the code of conduct, in as much as it's a creation of the media, it's a creation of the Media Act. However, some of the provisions that exist within the code of conduct and practice of journalism also applies to people who are operating the space. And for me, I will just say, take time, read through, and you'll be empowered because it helps you to stick to a certain rule. You can defend whatever you are disseminating to your audience when you have your facts right. Going back to what is the role of a journalist? The role of a journalist is to explain to the audience that what necessitated to the so-called Maandamano Mondays and then Maandamano Thursdays? The issue from the other side is around they want something around elections.
Yeah.
They're looking at how the constitution of the IEBC, they are saying the process needs to be redone. It should be transparent, not the way it is. So that is one. So as a journalist, you need to explain why. What are the issues within that kind of framework? And then another issue that has been created is around the cost of living. Are journalists or content creators able to explain to their audience that the Maandamano is also around the cost of living?
But you see, that's the
Those
narrative that is widened or that is amplified, highly amplified.
Yes.
To those who are going to the streets to protest.
Yes.
For them, they're going because of the cost of living.
Yes.
Wanjiku, common mwananchi, we feel the pain.
Yes.
But there are other things, there are other reasons as to why the people who want the people to go to the streets want them there. So can journalists do that? Can digital content creators do that? And what's the role of the regulators in all that, as well as the state? Can we work together?
Definitely, you can work together, but always the relationship between the state and the media and even people who are, maybe let me just say alternative media, but I always just say we are in this all together, is that the relationship is always not, it's like a rose flower where the rose flower blooms, but within it there are leaves and there are thorns. That is the relationship that we have. Today it's good because I remember even I shared on my Twitter handle and said the media should not be a mouthpiece to the state, whom during the live broadcast we could see they were violating people's rights. They were beating people who are innocent. Yes. Also, the same law that the state wants us to use also says that the police need to protect the protesters. That's why they're always notified that there will be this kind of protest. Kindly come and protect us. But in the Kenyan context, we see it is the vice versa.
And they call it illegal.
It becomes protests are not illegal because the Constitution gives us the right to protest.
The Constitution. You see, my favorite part or bit about African states and Kenya being number one is that we have theoretical laws and theoretical guidelines and everything that are very amazing. We even have other countries that come to copy what we have in Kenya.
Indeed.
But what happens to kwa ground, practicals?
Same laws also call upon the security officers, even when they are provoked, to exercise some kind of restraint. It simply means if the police have been notified that there will be protests on this particular day, and they allow these people to do their thing, the protests will be as peaceful as ever. People will get tired, they'll go home, and the people will be able to go to work. But the current scenario that I witnessed for the previous week, when the protests began, I was in town that day, and the police had condoned all the entry points to the central business district of Nairobi. And what did that mean? It meant people never went to work. Those who went to work maybe are the most, whom I can say, very essential people, maybe banks, etc. But technically, the town was empty because nobody was allowed to enter. And those who entered, tear gas, if you are found to be four to three people in a crowd, police were disrupting it. The Constitution also gives us power to associate. But again, how can a police officer exercise full force to innocent people who are unarmed? That's another question. I don't know how to respond to it, but I believe every player within that scenario has their own ways of determining when to do it. But in Kenyan case, we don't. That's why anything small, there's always the first thing is always a tear gas.
Yeah.
Second thing, rubber bullets. And that's why we had that incident in Maseno. A student was shot. And then now, how do you justify? The DCI released very many photos. And now this is where now the role of fact-checking comes in. When one of the media houses said, okay, let's take a pause. We are not just regurgitating what the DCI is saying or telling us that these are the faces of violence.
Some as far back as
Yes.
15 years ago.
Yes. And it takes only a stand. We content creators, we journalists, it only takes us a stand. Step back. I always say, step back, breathe in 10 seconds, or wait, hold your breath 10 seconds. Reflect first. Is this what we are being given, the right thing or not? Mm-hmm. And after that, the DCI had to apologize. But as you apologize, your integrity has been already tainted.
But did you see that apology?
It did not have the same magnitude as the entire thread that they had shared with us to the public, because even the public were asking themselves. It's like the police were subject to the public opinion. People are playing with a sufuria and they are saying, are these people victims? Are they victims or violators?
How did they violate
Yes.
the sufuria?
Articles 33, 34, and 35 of the Constitution empowers us to do all these things. But as long as we are not inciting hate and doing issues around propaganda, which limits that. And that is what now your audience, myself, we the content creators need to be aware of in terms of how we disseminate to the people the information that we gather.
There we at least have a solution.
Yes.
However, the unfortunate bit is that majority of content creators don't necessarily adhere to that. And that isn't even the worst bit. The worst bit is that we have the retweeters, resharers, Facebook reposters, WhatsApp message forwarders. Then we have a whole store filled up with misinformation, because now that is not with intent to cause harm or to share fake news or that which is false. So what is the solution for those?
The solution, it's always very simple. Mm-hmm. Even for that common person who has not yet, who does not have the idea of what we know. Yeah. Number one has always been, before you share, read it again, read it twice. Don't even say forwarded as received or not. Read through, and if you are in a position to tell somebody that this is wrong, this is fake news, just say within this platform that you are in, so that, because false or information that is not right or correct spreads faster than the correct information.
That is true.
But as long as you flag that information out at that particular moment, you've saved so many people, because you've taken time to read it, to analyze, and then also to try to make a reference to other places, not just as forwarded as received.
Where should people make references to when, unfortunately, we have an example of a government body that is not to be trusted based on the experience that we've had?
Number one, the public is very intelligent. People should never forget that. You, the audience, are very intelligent, and that's why they were, even before the media called out, online, people were able even to make judgment that no, the person whom this entity has flagged as a violator, it's not right. Breaking down facts is one of the most difficult things we content creators do. A quick search can always help you. And I believe there are also so many other online tools that can help. But for us, we have to use them so that whatever we give to our audience is right. But to the audience, take minimum 5 seconds, maximum 10 seconds, just to think through. And then number two, because it's a message that you've received, even call the person who has sent it to you. Is it true? Where did you hear it from? Try even to gather the information from the person whom you have received that information from. small errors lead to so many big things.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed having this conversation with you. Do you have a question for me as a content creator now that I invited you to the platform?
Wow, for me, I like I like the concept of Tek4Peace.
Yeah.
Why Tek4Peace?
My intention is to break down these digital platforms, whether you're a blogger, whether you're on social media, whether you just took a photo of someone and shared. What does that mean for the person who views? What if it trends? Where will that lead you? Will you be in prison, or will you be the next topic of people who disappeared? Or will you be the person who saved people from getting to extremes that could have led to violence?
That's interesting. But for peace to be there, people need that information to make judgment.
And peace is critical to any development. And that's actually the base. If I was to share a vision or a mission statement, it would be peace is critical to development.
Very.
And right now, we have digital platforms and technology platforms being used as guns or tools to ensure that there is or there isn't peace.
You remind me something which I was to mention before we closed, but it's good to refer to it. If the communications authority did that, then it leads to another question that you thrive well in the digital space, isn't it? What if we have an internet shutdown? You would thrive.
We've seen it in other countries.
We've seen it, but now they say you people stop broadcasting live. And you know we are in the digital space, citizen journalism, everybody with their small phone, they'll broadcast it. Eh?
Yes.
But what if we have an internet shutdown tomorrow? You won't do that. And that is something that I always tell. Always guard your civil rights, liberties, like, with all your heart, soul, and brain. Because the moment...
And keyboard.
Yes. And the moment they take it away, we become a dictatorial country, an authoritarian state. Because even some of the rhetorics that we've had this week, they're not right. Whereby you hear a whole CSA, we want to do to this person the way Rwanda does, the way Uganda does. And then I'm like, do people understand
the
weight of these things? For me, in short, I'll just repeat what somebody told me the other day. The rest of the East African community countries who are our neighbors, they always look at Kenya
to lead
as their big brother to lead.
Yeah.
So when we want to take a step back and say, let's go back to what our younger brothers are doing, technically we are receding and not creating opportunities for people, not enjoying the same rights that everyone should be enjoying. So we should just guard these civil liberties.
Thank you for coming to this platform. I think we have so much more to share.
Thank you. I also look forward to the next session.
Me too.
Yeah.
Sawa, guys, please like, subscribe, and share. Where can we find you?
Online, I'm just the same. On Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, it's my name, David Indeje. Just search.
If you agree or disagree with anything that we've said, or if you want to add anything on top of what we said, drop it down in the comment section and we shall respond to you. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you.